What? You want me to talk about that Bundy? No, I'm busy. Okay, fine. Assalamualaikum everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before that, my name is Aqilah Bazlin binti Abdul Razak. My metric number is 202148738. The purpose I want to inform you guys today is that I want to give information about the serial killer, which is Ted Bundy. So, who is Ted Bundy? Why do we call him a serial killer? Eileen's here to help you guys. The content of this video is that I will talk about his background, his early childhood, his arrested parts, his victim, and his list of victims. Now, let's go! I will start with his background first. His real name is Theodore Robert Bundy, born Cowell, November 24, 1946. He was an American serial killer who kidnapped, raped, and murdered numerous young women and girls during the 1970s and possibly earlier. After more than a decade of denials, he confessed to 30 murders committed in 7 states between 1974 and 1978. His true victim total is unknown and likely significantly higher. Bundy was regarded as charismatic and handsome and exploited this to win the trust of both his victim and society as a whole. He will typically approach his victim in public places, ideal finding a physical impairment such as injury, or impersonating an authoritative figure before blackgunning them into insensibility and taking them to secondary locations to be raped and strangled. Bundy often revisited his victims, grooming and performing sexual acts with the corpses until decomposition and destruction by wild animals made any further interactions impossible. He decapitated at least 12 victims and kept their severed heads as mementos in his apartment. On a few occasions, he broke into homes at night and blackgunned his victims as they sleep. Now let's move to the next part, which is his early childhood. Ted Bundy was born in Burlington, Vermont on November 24, 1946. Bundy started life as his mother's secret shame as illegitimate birth humiliated her deeply religious parents. Luz delivered Ted at home for unwed mothers in Vermont and later brought her son to her parents in Philadelphia. His biological father's identity has never been confirmed. His original birth certificate apparently assigns paternity to a salesman and United States Air Force veteran named Lloyd Marshall. Through a copy of it lists his father as unknown. For the first 3 years of his life, Bundy lived in the Philadelphia home of his maternal grandparents Samuel, 1898 to 1983, and Eleanor Cowell, 1895 to 1971, who raised him as their son to avoid the social stigma that accompanied birth outside of wedlock at that time. Family, friends, and even young Ted were told that his grandparents were his parents and that his mother was his older sister. Bundy eventually discovered the truth. Although his recollections of the circumstance varied, he told a girlfriend that a cousin showed him a copy of his birth certificate after calling him a bastard. But he told biographer Stephen Mitchell and Hugh and his word that he had found the certificate himself. Bundy occasionally exhibited disturbing behavior at an early age. Luz's younger sister Julia recalled awakening from a nap to find herself surrounded by nymphs from the kitchen, and 3-year-old Ted standing by the bed and smiling. Bundy's childhood neighbor Sandy Holt described him as a bully, saying he liked to terrify people, he liked to be in charge, and he liked to inflict pain and suffering and fear. Since everyone already knows about his early childhood, now let's move to the part which is his first 2 serious murders. It's important to note that this way was Bundy's first known attack. In Washington, shortly after midnight on January 4, 1974, around the time that he terminated his relationship with Edwards, Bundy entered the basement apartment of 18-year-old Karen Sparks, often identified as Johnny Lanes, Mary Adams, and Terry Caldwell in Bundy literature. A dancer and a student at University of Washington, after blackgunning Sparks with a metal rod from her bedframe, he sexually assaulted her with either the same rod or a metal speculum, causing extensive internal injuries. She remained unconscious in the hospital for 10 days, and although she survived, she was left with physical disabilities. In the early morning hours of February 1, Bundy broke into the basement room of Linda and Healy, a University of Washington undergraduate who broadcast morning radio weather reports for scarce. He beat her unconscious, dressed her in a blue jeans, a white blouse and boots, and carried her away. Second, at Idaho, Utah, and Colorado, on October 18, Melissa Ann Smith, the 17-year-old daughter of the police chief of Midvale, another Salt Lake City suburb, disappeared after leaving a pizza parlor. Her nude body was found in a nearby mountainous area 9 days later. Postmortem examination indicated that she may have remained alive for up to 7 days following her disappearance. On October 31, Lori Ann M., also 17, disappeared 25 miles south of there in Leahy after leaving a cafe just after midnight. Her naked body was found by hikers 9 miles to the northeast in America Fort Canyon on Thanksgiving Day. Both girls had been beaten, raped, sodomized, and strangled with nylon stockings. Years later, Bundy described his post-mortem rituals with the corpses of Smith and M, including hair shampooing and application of makeup. Now let's move off his arrested part. On February 15, 1978, Bundy was driving right outside of Pensacola when Pensacola police officer David Lee pulled him over on West Severn Street. Officer Lee noticed the car Bundy was driving had been reported stolen, which is why he pulled Bundy over. Bundy resisted arrest, leading Officer Lee to fire 2 warning shots. Bundy decided to represent himself during his trial in June 1979 for the murders of the 2 Chi Omega sisters who had been murdered. He was found guilty and sentenced to death by an electric chair. Bundy then went on trial in Orlando for the murder of Kimberly Leach in 1980. For this, he was also found guilty and sentenced to death. Bundy was executed by an electric chair on January 24, 1989 at Florida State Prison. Bundy's last words were allegedly, "I do like you to give my love to my family and friends." Bundy confessed to killing 36 women, but some believe he gave upwards of 100%. Let's move to the biggest part, which is his victims. In 1975, Bundy was arrested in jail in Utah for aggravated kidnapping and attempted criminal assault. He then became a suspect in progressively longer list of unsolved homicides in several states. Facing murder charge in Colorado, Bundy engineered 2 dramatic escapes and committed further assaults in Florida, including 3 murders before his ultimate recapture in 1978. For the Florida homicides, he received 3 death sentences in 2 trials. Bundy was executed at Florida State Prison in Renford on January 24, 1988. The night before his execution, Bundy confessed to 30 homicides, but the true total remains unknown. Published estimates have run as high as 100 or more, and Bundy occasionally made cryptic comments to encourage that speculation. He told Answer in 1980 that for every murder publicized, there could be one that was not. When FBI agents proposed a totally tally of 36, Bundy responded, "Add 1 digit to that and you will have it." Years later, he told Nelson that his common estimate of 35 was accurate, but Capel wrote that Ted and I both knew the total was much higher. "I don't think even he knew how many he killed or why he killed them," said Rev. Fred Lawrence, the Methodist clergyman who administered Bundy's last rites. "That was my impression, my straw impression." On the evening before his execution, Bundy reviewed his victim tally with Hammer on a state-by-state basis for a total of 30 homicides. Here's the list of victims. In Washington, 11, including parts adopted in Oregon but killed in Washington, and including 3 unidentified. In Utah, 8 victims, 3 unidentified. In Colorado, 3 victims. In Florida, also 3 victims. In Oregon, 2 victims but both unidentified. In Idaho, 2 victims but 1 unidentified. And the last one is California, 1 victim and unidentified. Finally, we have reached the end of the video. That's all from me. I hope everyone gets what I'm sharing about Ted Bundy. As a conclusion, serial killers are in every part of the world, hurting everyone that gets in their way. It's impossible to recognize a killer if people don't understand and know the mind and the personality they have. It is necessary to be careful with everyone, and that is why information about serial killer is important. Alright, then, Assalamualaikum. Bye everyone.